Now, Get Right with Lenny McAllister.
By any means necessary.
Well spoken.
The way we help bring back America and we build the bridges and bring people together is by making sure we hold everybody accountable in a 360 fashion. So let me close with this. Yes, there is a change that we can believe in, but it will never come from a politician or a government program.
You cannot find physical sanity here in the land of Lincoln from Carbondale to Elgin that we collectively continue to tolerate the insanity found on the streets of South Chicago and East Texas.
We got to move away from the American Idol soundbite nature of politics and back to the American statesman of humble servant leadership that we used to see in politics. It is time to roll out the era of the new, educated, engaged, and energized American citizen. I go do the jail ministry. I speak to the kids in the streets. So I'm never going to lay down being conservative just as much as I'll never lay down being a proud African American.
Feel like a black republic, money I got coming in. Can't turn my back on the hood, I got love for them. Can't clean my act.
Well, hello. I don't know if it's a welcome back or if it's just haven't really gone anywhere. Just haven't had an opportunity to talk to you via podcast in a while. So I'll just say hello. You know who it is. It's me, Lenny McAllister. Thank you for joining us here on Get Right with Lenny McAllister. Gonna start giving you podcasts like we used to back in 2010 and 2011, 2012. Figure that, with the government shutdown, the horrible, horrific, I don't know why we didn't avoid this shutdown that we have here, that maybe it would be a good time to come back to you and talk about some things that are going on here publicly, going here civically, going here politically, that's driving us all nuts. You know where to go. If you have any questions or you want to see more about what I'm talking about, there's plenty of places you can go. Number one, if you're in New Zealand, if you're down under, you can catch me on Radio New Zealand today at 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon here in the States, Eastern Time, or Tuesday morning if you're down under. So we'll be talking about this government shutdown there and all the latest developments and all the back and forth between two sides of a political system that just over the course of the last several years has just decided that they do not want to work together at all. And that's, there's so many things I want to say about this that it's absolutely positively frustrating. And I know that you all have your comments as well. I see it on Facebook. I see it on Twitter. You know how to get in touch with me. Again, Facebook, just go find me, Lenny McAllister. Got 2 pages out there. Love to hear your feedback there as well. You can find me on Twitter. Very simple. @ LennyMcAllister. Lenny McAllister. Find me. Want your feedback. Want your conversation. Like I said, we're going to do this on the regular. You're going to see this weekdays, every day, about 20 minutes or so, just to vibe back and forth, let you know what I'm thinking about all the stuff that's going on. As you well know, it's been a very busy 2013 for me, so I do apologize. And before I get into this, the government shutdown, and what I think about all this, let me just try to catch you up real quick. Geez, where do I start? Wow. 2012, you know what happened with the election. We lost. I kind of knew that was going to happen. Anytime you can't talk to black people, can't talk to brown people, can't talk to urban people, can't talk to young voters, can't talk to, can't talk to the poor, don't really connect well with the middle class, you're going to probably lose statewide elections. You're probably going to lose the presidential election. You're probably going to lose some cachet when it comes to your national brand. That's not a surprise. So that led into this, lo and behold, this congressional run that I had, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And the good people down in Kankakee County there in Illinois, I love you. I told you I fell in love with you. I will always be in love with you. And thank you so much for voting me as your congressional nominee. Thank you very, very much for that. Enjoyable run, of course, didn't turn out quite the way we wanted to, but it was a great experience. And I'm going to be able to use those experiences in talking to the people in Cook County, Will County, Kankakee County there in Illinois to get an opportunity to really apply what the heck we're seeing in politics in a very real way. Because everybody sees this on television. Everybody sees the conversations back and forth. And I've done a lot of media since the congressional run. I was on Glenn Beck last month in August, late August, with Joseph C. Phillips, who, by the way, thank you, Joseph, for having me on while you were guest hosting the Glenn Beck program. Had a great time down in Dallas while I was there. Everything from Sun News Network, Brian Dunstan, a good buddy of mine up there, part of my Canadian family up there, get a chance to talk to them about once to twice a month. I thoroughly enjoy that. Everything from that, HuffPost Live, get a chance to vibe with Mark Lamont Hill and others throughout the media experience, the media realm, if you will, to talk about what's been going on. But at least now, I feel as though with this congressional run that I was able to complete, that I have a chance to come and say not just what they should do, but what I would have done if I were in office, what I would look to do if I ever had an opportunity to serve people in office. And I think that it would be great, honestly, again, this probably does apply to the government shutting down. It would be great if the American people thought of themselves as legislators, not just voters or not just passive citizens in this process. If we started thinking about solutions on a greater scale and on a more regular basis, can you imagine what this would be like in regards to dealing with your representatives in the House of Representatives or dealing with your senators up there on Capitol Hill? When it came to this shutdown, when it came to getting to this point in time, because we didn't get here at the end of September. We got here throughout 2012. We got here throughout 2011. And heck, and I've made this point. This Obamacare was put together in a Frankenstein-esque type of way in 2009, 2010, where it was not pretty from the outset. It was done in a very atypical type of fashion, very unpopular type of fashion, where Democrats had to be convinced to go along with the Democratic plan before this was put into place. So if you apply all of that simultaneously to a new practice of American citizenry, where we're all legislators, we're all crafting our own plans, we all have an informed point of view as to what we should be doing moving forward. Man, maybe we could have avoided this. Maybe we wouldn't be sitting here October 1st, 2013, saying to ourselves, here we go again. And listen, if you think it's going to go like this now, I'm telling you, they better figure this out quick. Now, I know that we're going to initially publish this podcast in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. Now, again, I'll get to that as far as the rest of my 2013 as to why it's Eastern Standard Time, but maybe something will work out by the end of today. Maybe something's working out right now, but as of right now, people are digging their heels in. You have some Republicans that are trying to move away from what is called the Suicide Caucus, which is very, very sad. But so you have two factions of Republicans, just like you had two factions of Democrats that battled each other in 2010 to get to the negotiating point to get this health care law passed, barely, in a very partisan way, in 2010. That cost them their elections, cost them the midterm elections in 2010. They lost senatorial seats. They lost congressional seats as a result of how they passed this. So maybe something is transpiring. We'll see. Now, before I get to my take on what's been going on with this Obamacare, government shutdown, everything else, back to the rest of my 2013, because I know I'm filling in the blanks for some folks. Again, I would love your feedback on Facebook or on Twitter. Well, we'll have a phone number up so that we can get some live feedback, put you on the podcast as well. So 2013 goes on, and it was laid on my heart, and those that know me know that I'm a Christian conservative, that I am a cradle Catholic, that I believe in God Almighty, and even though he and I wrestle with my humanity, we don't wrestle with his divinity, we wrestle with my humanity. And we wrestle with my humanity rather regularly because it's always an ongoing walk of faith, and I have no problem with that. I struggle with it, but I know that God's growing me in the process. Well, during that process, if you will, this time around in the middle of 2013, it was laid on my heart to come back to my hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So after some prayer, after some conversation with my lovely, my wife, my life partner, my ace, if you will, everybody knows that I refer to my wife as my ace. So after sitting down and talking to my ace, we made the decision to come back to my native Pennsylvania, to come back to my hometown of Pittsburgh and be here with family and friends and be able to grow something new here. Now, I love Chicago. I mean, I know that most people say, how can you be a black Republican and love Chicago? Well, I did. I thoroughly enjoyed a lot of the things that I was able to get done in the Chicago area. Built some very unique allies, unique friendships, got some unique things done. I know that there's some people out there that think that's, being a rhino, that's being a traitor, that's being a spy for Democrats or being a sellout to the conservative cause. But if you look at where we are right now, the epitome of where we are right now is the fact that we as conservatives do a great job of talking to ourselves, but we can't convince the other side to take a chance on what we believe in. So if you don't do that more often in the planning stages and be proactive, you get to these points of time. Being in Chicago for 3 years, whether it was on WVON or whether it was in the grassroots or running for Congress or marching for anti-violence movements or initiatives or any of the things that I had a chance to do while I was in Chicago, civil rights advocacy, it gave me an opportunity to create that platform to say, you know what? There are Republicans that care about these issues. We take a conservative approach to them, and because we take a conservative approach to them, we feel that our solutions do not have limits. When you rely on government, when you rely on the public sector, when you rely on government solutions, it's limited by the scope of government. So the only way you can have limitless freedom is by making government limitless, and we think that's a problem. But you at least get in the room to have these conversations. And so I will never regret being in Chicago. I will never regret the friendships that I've made there, the people that I've had a chance to talk to there. I think that I just love and I cherish those times. I love the people that I've met, and those are friends for life. But it was time to come home to Pittsburgh. It was time to come back to my hometown and be here. So I'll be broadcasting and being here in the Keystone State and talking to you about national issues and international issues and sometimes local issues. But generally speaking, I'm going to stay in my lane, if you will, and talk about the national things that impact all of us, which get us to Obamacare and the government shutdown. And again, love your feedback on Facebook or Twitter. Just throw it out there. You know where to find me. Again, Lenny McAllister, LennyMcAllister is my Twitter handle, as well as my 2 Facebook pages. Want your feedback and appreciate you listening today. Number one, and it's no particular order. So if you think as though I'm maybe blaming just the Democrats, please just hear me out. But I am going to start with the Democrats. I am sick and tired of hearing that elections have consequences. So because they won an election, you have the right to put out a bad law that makes no sense. Or parts of it make no sense, which is probably more appropriate. You don't have that right. Just because you won an election does not mean you get to put out bad law. Because the same exact Democrats, people on the left that sit there and say Obamacare may be flawed, but we get a right to put it out there the way we want to put it out there because we won the election in 2012. Those same people will ignore the election results of 2010 and 2012 when it comes to things such as, voter ID laws. Now, I've been an advocate of saying you have to have voter validation, but you can't have those voter validation efforts slide into voter suppression where you're locking people out of the right to vote or the accessibility to be able to get to the ballot box. I concur with the left when it comes to that, but there are some voter ID laws that are effective, that will work, that will make sure that citizens that are eligible to vote, that are over 18 years old, and that are actual citizens of the United States can vote. There are laws that exist that will allow you to do that. But the same liberals that will sit there and say that, elections have consequences, the Republicans are just being obstructionist, and they should not get in the way of Obamacare being implemented, are the same people rooting Eric Holder on to sue North Carolina, which, by the way, there are certain things in that voter ID law they should not have done. And those are good friends of mine down there. Been down there for 10 years. There are certain things they should not have done in that law, but they did. But he's suing North Carolina. We saw what happened in Pennsylvania. And again, the way that law was implemented, I voiced my concern. You don't implement a law in April of 2012 and only want to apply it initially to the general election, which is the presidential election, and then turn around and say this will allow our candidate to win this state and possibly win a key swing state to win the presidency. You don't do that, especially when you're risking 500,000 people potentially being locked out. I disagreed with that, but that does not mean that you cannot have valid voter validation laws in place. And these same liberals will sit there and ignore the election results when it comes to certain things that Republicans want to do. Another thing would be Bobby Jindal's voucher program. Well, that's discriminatory. We don't like that. Well, you know what? Elections have consequences. You can't play both sides of that argument. And that's where the intellectual dishonesty comes in, quite frankly, from both sides. But in this instance, the Democrats. You cannot argue elections have consequences for what you like and then complain about what you don't like and say elections shouldn't matter as much as the American way of life and American justice and freedom. It's duplicitous. So Democrats, you got to be a little bit more consistent with that. Now, Republicans, when it comes to this government shutdown, why don't we have a better plan in place than this? Why, I know that they offered some solutions for healthcare reform in 2009, and I continue to take people back to this. In September 2009, and I remember this because my ace was about to give birth to our son and was having false starts, like 3 or 4 different false starts. And one of the false starts was in September while the president was addressing both chambers of Congress, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, because we're sitting there in a hospital room wondering, hey, you're having contractions. Are you going to have a baby? You're not going to have a baby. So we're trying to figure this all out, obviously, with the hospital staff. And I'm sitting there watching this speech, and the president is up there saying, hey, Democrats, tort reform is not a bad idea. Insurance portability is not a bad idea. Democrats, you should consider this as you're crafting this law. Republicans should be involved. And you know what the Democrats told President Obama? Go fly a kite. Don't want to really hear what you have to say when it comes to that. You just, go away. We got this. Dude, we got you in the White House. We got this, as George Lopez used to say on his show. So when you take that approach, Republicans, where's our plan B when you know you're going to be locked out? If you're going to go this far down the road and make sure that, hey, if we have to shut down the government for a couple of days to make our point with Obamacare because this monstrosity has been implemented and put into place, and there's been this self-repeal going on. And I don't know why they don't use this term, self-repeal, because they told us we wanted to repeal the law, and you're right, Republicans did want to repeal the law in 2010. They wanted to repeal the law in 2011 when they won the House of Representatives back. But you see the Obama administration putting this self-repeal into place. Why don't we have a plan to help facilitate the self-repeal where not only are we saying delay it for a year, but delay it and do these things? As you're delaying it for a year, here are the things that we want to put in place to make sure that those that are most at jeopardy of not having health care, not having what they need to survive and take care of their families, they have these things. That should have been articulated at the beginning of 2013. That should have been articulated 90 days out and articulated well with a strong, full media push. And I don't understand why that did not transpire. I don't know if that's a lack of leadership, a lack of vision. We were so full of just passion, or some would say vitriol, when it comes to this law being put into place, and the Democrats and President Obama in general or specifically. I don't know, but my point is there should have been a better media plan to push this possible government and now actual government shutdown. There should have been a better legislative plan to say, if we want the delay, this is what we're going to do. And even if you said we're going to go start with defunding it completely, and then our negotiating point will be a 1-year delay, there should be a negotiating point for a 6-month delay and a 1-year delay. You tie the 1-year delay into the employer mandate. I get that. I understand that. And I don't, again, your feedback on Facebook and Twitter is much appreciated. I get that. I understand that. But you also have to say, and here's the bridge during that period of time while the delay is in place. Because honestly, if you do that and then you win the midterm elections, then that bridge goes down a different path. Now, perhaps let's say, I don't know how it's going to happen now, but let's say conceivably the Republicans control the Senate and the House of Representatives. Now, rather than going towards just a 1-year delay back to what's already in place, now you can say, and now that we've done a 1-year delay, we need to go in this direction instead. I did not hear that from the Republican Party. I have not heard that from Republican leaders. The most passionate Republican leaders are people like Ted Cruz up there reading Green Eggs and Ham. That's not going to be enough. People remember the Green Eggs and Ham more than they remember some well-articulated points about what to do instead of Obamacare October 1st, 2013. And that's the problem with the party right now. People want to hear more things that make more sense for the independent voter, the moderate voter, moderate Democrat and moderate Republican. Because right now we're winning over the passionate base of the Republican Party, and that's it. So you got both sides just kind of digging in with their bases, and the bottom line is the brand name of the Democrats and Republicans are both going downhill. And further than that, they're going downhill, and the brand name of American politics is going downhill. And if this continues on through October, not only will the brand name go down, but once again, the credit rating will go down. And you think that's not going to impact the economy that's already stagnant, already going on, and there are already people suffering and struggling? Please, you will find out very quickly. And it goes back to this. How much do they really, really care about what's going on to everyday Americans while they're fighting this rich person, elitist type of fight on Capitol Hill? These are supposed to be public servants up there. We'll see how it plays out. Anywho, I'm running out of time right now. Here's my podcast for October 1st, 2013. Looking forward to hearing your feedback on Facebook and on Twitter. Again, Lenny McAllister. Thank you for joining us here on Get Right with Lenny McAllister. I will talk to you soon. TCNGB, I love you. Take care and God bless.